So, you pretty much had, I mean, obviously you served in World War II, and that was a pretty hair-raising experience, which you're lucky to make it through and probably change your life. But you had your family, you met grandma, she was a big part of your life,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. We
then you
went.
had the birth of three kids.
Yeah, my.
And so, what was special about grandma and then Mary Lou, Eileen, and Liz?
Oh, well, I met Betty. I had an uncle that lived on Rosary. Uh, he was married to my Aunt Mame Story, and Betty, as a young girl, when she was only, I'd say about 12, she used to go down, and Aunt Mame had a stroke. And Betty used to walk down from 91 Rosary down to the Ruddys. She was married to Patrick Ruddy, Ruddy. And she used to help out in the house. She was real big hearted and really good with older people. Oh, had a great way with older people. A lot of patience, very smart, well read. She read this like your daughter Mary Lou, your mother. That's where Mary Lou got it. She got that DNA from her mother. She didn't get it from me. But anyway, Eileen was. Well, I'm getting away from Betty. We start going together, and that's how I met her. I would be coming down to meet as I got older. Of course, I was like 17, somewhere near 17, 18. And she would be down visiting Gert Ruddy, who was the daughter of Pat and Maine. And she'd be visiting. I would come in to visit my aunt, and I would introduce to Betty, and we'd get talking. And then, well, the next thing you know, I worked up the nerve to ask her something to go to a movie or do something. We didn't do much in those days. The hell, you couldn't. Everything was, by bus or yeah, the buses were in vogue then. The streetcars were gone. They were all they were during the 30s. So anyway, yeah, I got married when I got home from World War II. Wasn't out of the army yet. I came home from Europe, and it was a harrowing experience. A lot of geez, I don't know. I was very fortunate, and anyway, we were going pretty steady, and she had a friend by Pat, Patricia Griffin, and Bobby Elvey were going together. And Bobby Elvey was, the way you hear this, was a gunnery instructor in the Air Corps. You know who one of the students were? Clark Gable. It's a true story. Anyway, we're double dating. Pat and Bob and Betty and I were going out. And his parents had a car. I can remember that. So we had a car. Oh, that was a big thing. And he was following me during the date. He said, "You're getting close to going in." I said, "Yeah, I am. I haven't enlisted, but I said, any day I'm going to get the letter. I know that." Well, he said, "I'll tell you what. You get in the Air Corps." He said, "It's the best deal. And especially if you can get into the flying end." He said, that's tops. He said, "They treat you great." And he was so right. Gave me the best advice. And when I was drafted and went down to the old post office, after you got sworn in, they all had their boots. They had Coast Guard, Navy, Army, Marines, Air Corps. And I sought the Air Corps out right away. I went to I talked to them, and the next thing I know, I don't know, then I was off to Fort Niagara, and then down the Miami Beach, Florida, all Air Corps, that it was all ground, what we used to call ground grippers. Any guys that didn't fly when we flew, we called them ground grippers. That was a good name. Anyway, that was our nickname for them. But then I volunteered for gunnery. I didn't want to be working on those damn aircraft. It just didn't appeal to me. I do it. I knew how to do my job. But I wanted a little more action. So I got it. So something with flying. Actually, what I really would have loved to have been, but would have been flying a fighter plane would have been my tops because I worked on McCurris. That's where I fell in love with the aircraft out there. But anyway, somehow, some way, a 2-year college degree entered into the equation, and I didn't fit into that. And they were starting to get more selective. First, if I'd have gone in a year earlier, I could have taken the test with a high school and probably made it in that. See, whether I would have made it all the way through, I don't know. But anyway, that's how I got into gunnery, aerial gunnery, and I enjoyed it. It was just after I heard of what guys were in Marines, what they had to go through. It was something I liked, skeet shooting, and it was just exciting, very exciting. And you did a lot of not piloting, but flying, 2-seaters, doing aerial gunnery. It was exciting. I mean, when you're, what the hell, 18, 19 years old, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's when I got done with the military, and then Betty and I, we got married. And I often think back, she won this scholarship to Buell and Mercyhurst. She was sharp. She was a smart girl. And she loved acting. Oh, she loved the theater. And that's where Liz got it, definitely. And anyway, she chose Mercyhurst because she wanted to get out of Lackawanna. And what I really felt bad about years later was here. I come back to the service, get married. Where the devil we live? We lived in Lackawanna for 17 years. And we left and went to Cranwood. And then, well, different locations. But, yeah, she was, and Betty was very point blank. It was never, if I got in trouble somewhere, she'd let me have both barrels, Don't you ever pull that shit again or something, she told me. I don't know if you can delete that. Don't you ever pull that crap again. And I always knew where I stood, It was never go and sulk in the corner and weep. And, I have these she never had any dark times. She never had that. And, no, we had a lot of fun together. We had our ups and downs, You were around us long enough. You probably saw a few things. You'd sit in the back and they'd be laughing when I tell you, keep quiet. You'd say, you'd break out laughing. I can remember that. But anyway, and Mary Lou, now where she got her, Mary Lou, Catherine's just like Mary Lou, just like her grandmother. She's very selective. If she meets you, she kind of looks you over. She's not going to run right to you and embrace you. She's going to analyze you first, see. That's the way your mother was. Same way. Liz was the opposite. And little Lizzie was like her mother. Run right to a stranger and embrace a stranger. I used to get me totally upset because, hey, wait a minute. But Eileen was, now she was entirely different. Tough to analyze her. She had a lot of problems. Physical. She had that damn, what is it?
Ileitis.
Ileitis. That's what she. Same thing Eisenhower had. And anyway, when she was, I'm trying to think how old. When she was in high school, 15. God love her. Jeez. Man, I mean, you got to get up and go to school. She had beautiful long hair. She was the prettiest, Eileen. No question about it. That's off the record. But I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. They all, she was very sick. And we finally, and we thought we were going to lose her. We thought she was going to die. We finally got to this doctor, an old German doctor, and he figured out what she had. And we got her on it was a liquid iron medication. Totally lacked iron in her system. And anyway, he said, we're going to have to give her iron shots. Well, I said, about a liquid? He said, most people can't tolerate it. Well, I said, I know she goes frantic with a needle. She don't like, is there any chance? Well, he said, there's a iron pill. He said, well, we'll try her on that. She could tolerate it. All of a sudden, she started coming back. Yeah, she was a very sick girl, very sick. And Eileen was more worldly than at that growing up period than Mary Lou. She was in the, I had to have a certain clothes, a certain look, and she was like, she wanted to be hep with the rest of the girls, you know. She was entirely different than Mary Lou and I. Mary Lou was very, very easy. I mean, she's never in any trouble. She'd be home on time, and I don't think maybe she took a drag or two on a cigarette, but she hated smoke. Eileen hated it. Well, Lizzie made up for the two of them. So Lizzie had probably a little bit of me in her that way, a little bit wild, but very talented, just musically. Well, your mother, Mary Lou, she's done all kind of honors. She half of her class. She was just a smart girl. And never any trouble. Good God. Eileen, no, not much trouble, but she was a kind of, always had I won't wear that. I wouldn't be seen dead in that. Always had to wear a certain type of dress or skirt or some darn thing. And she was always very fashionable. And Lizzie was the talented one. She was a little bit of me, a little wild. And when they were taking lessons, maybe Tom Malone, hey, Mr. Carrigg, he said, I got to be frank with you. He said, you're wasting your time with the first two daughters. He said, the baby's got the talent. Liz, she loved it. When they would come home from school, if I was working 4 to 12, and they would walk from Victory and come in wintertime, and they'd come running in, and I'd have lunch ready, or Betty'd have it ready, and you know what Liz would do? Right over to the piano. Didn't care about eating lunch. Eileen and Mary Lou were getting the food and eating, and I'd say, "Come on, Liz." She'd be working on that. Tom Malone gave her to do, and he was amazed. He said, "She's talented." So he only lived up the street. There's apartments right at the end of Rosary Town on Ridge Road. That's where he lived. He'd walk down, and we had that. Mary McCabe had that upright piano. But anyway, so Liz was a talented one, and so Eileen was very worldly. She didn't care that much about school. She had to go to school, but well, that's what you have to do. But and your mother, Mary Lou, was very, very smart and very diligent in everything she did. Even when she was a baby, she wasn't no trouble at all. Oh, you were the same way. You were like your mother that way. Oh, God, it was always never had to worry. Could leave her in a room or something. She'd be looking at a book, never in any trouble. So anyway, the kids, I was blessed with good wife, good children. Very fortunate. It was kind of pre-drug era, just before it all started. Guys that were a little younger than me coming up having kids. Oh, all that drug nonsense started. And not that drugs weren't around when my kids were little, but not like they were a few years later. It was awful.
What always struck me as I get older that, you had really good parents and I know, all of your daughters adore you and I think you're a great father.
Yeah.
And I think they all adore grandma too, but I think that because grandma didn't have parents in a traditional
Oh,
sense,
she was all broken up life.
yeah, that she didn't have as much of a mother-daughter relationship
No, no,
with her daughters.
no. Mary McCabe relationship. And, Uncle Art loved her. And he wouldn't let Mary McCabe touch him. He lived with us for a year and a half. And Betty used to take care of him. She was so good. I'm telling you, with the older people, she could put them right at ease. But anyway, yeah, she came from a broken family. There was, geez, I don't know, 9 kids or something. And the grandmother she kind of controlled the strings when the mother died. And the father was a Johnny McCabe. He was just Johnny was a great guy, but he didn't care about much. The only big thing I knew him for was Christmas trees. He was a big wholesaler of Christmas trees. He used to go to Canada, and like in September, and he'd pick out the trees he wanted cut and chipped, and he lived on Mineral Spring Road, and it was a railroad tracks that ran right across Mineral Spring Road. And how he did this, I don't know, but these trees would come in on these flat cars, and they would take these big stakes out and roll the trees right down the bank, and he hit it. All vacant property. Now, I don't know what, he must have rented this property or something, but he'd sell Christmas trees by the thousands, and he was a big distributor. People would come and buy 100 trees to sell on their own. Oh, he did thousands of trees. And that's about all. I don't know what other livelihood he had. I couldn't tell you. And he died, I don't know, I think he was in his 60s when he died.
So then all three of your daughters got married, and basically my mom got married to my father first.
Yeah, they got married first, and then, of course, that was kind of that's a sad thing there. To this day, it bothers me, the way it happened. And it was sad. And they went together real young, and well, Betty and I were young. What the hell? She was 19 when I was 21. Well, she was almost 20. We were like 21, 20. And your mother was, I think, 19. Your father was 20, I think, something like that. It was ironic. Now, Eileen and Danny, that was a word. She got married in Florida. Now, listen to this one. She took off for Florida at like 5:30 in the morning from Cranwood. She had an MG car. I told her never to buy it. Had an old stick shift, little MG, and she wanted to go to see him getting away from things. But I'm telling about her marriage, and she, I was telling, well, she said, I have a job. She said, I have a job with a hospital. She's an X-ray tech. And I used to, when she graduated, she was very talented. Charlie Eschner, his brother, was a doctor. and he was at it's now ECC Hospital. It was the old ECC took it over. The name's kind. Anyway, that's where Eileen went to school to become an X-ray tech. She went from high school right into that. And why she never smoked? They took her on a tour of the lab one day, and they had organs all and formaldehyde, and they came up to this one and everybody going and they covered what it was. I said, guess what that is? I don't know. Smoker's lungs. Like Eileen said, 2 pieces of coal. Horrible, she said. And she said, if